Hello, Earthlings. How are you? Welcome to First Contact Radio. It's a pleasure to be with you again for another week of news and information. All right, let's jump into our cosmic weather for today. Starting off over at spaceweather.com, our solar weather is 479.6 kilometers per second. We're told here that the solar wind, it says we have a minor solar wind stream, is buffeting Earth's magnetic field. Arctic skywalkers should be watchers should be alert for auroras. And if we scroll down a little bit, we're going to see our planetary K index, which is at a 0. So we're quiet for today. Expected no more than a 1 over the next 24 hours. It was a bit higher over the weekend in the 2 to 3 range. It has calmed a bit, and you can see here that chances of any kind of flares are very minimal. M-class flares, 10% chance. X-class flares, only about a 1% chance. And geomagnetic storms are very, very low, 5% chance in low to mid latitudes and 10% up in the higher latitudes. Nothing in the way of any near-Earth objects coming our way, so we are all smooth sailing. We do have one coming up, as you can see, on the 26th, but it is going to be 2.9 lunar distances, so it's more, almost 3 times the distance from us to the moon. That's how far away it's going to be. So it's pretty far away, and it's a small one, only 80 meters in size, so a bit different than the recent one that passed us. Alright, that's our space weather. If you got a chance to see the eclipse over the weekend, it was pretty cool. I did get a chance to see it. I didn't get to see any of the reddish color because by then it had dipped below the horizon where it was all faded out and couldn't see it, but nonetheless it was pretty cool just to watch it disappear. Took about an hour. Alright, our next bit of information here is our astrology. So that makes part of our cosmic weather. Astrologically, the sign that we're in is the symbol of, or the sign of, a Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is the hunter, deals with issues of philosophy, higher education, expanded thinking. And the planet Jupiter, which is the planet that works with Sagittarius, is a planet all about expansion. So the energies of Jupiter expand, give us more to consider out there. And with the more to consider, it allows us the opportunity to grow. That's why we have these higher thinkings, because the energy is expanded, and in the expanded energy, we think more philosophically about all of this expansion that is going on. And as you can see here, this is a chart with all of the aspects, the daily aspects. Today, our moon is in the astrological sign of Cancer. So we've got 2 lights in the sky. We've got the sun, which deals with our conscious mind, and then the moon, which deals with our unconscious. And these energies, they are continually working and affecting our lives each and every day. So the Cancerian energy is, it's a water sign. It is very emotional, so this could be a day filled with a lot of emotions. It's a day when there's a tendency to want to go into like a protective shell, because if you think of the symbol for Cancer, it's the crab. It's a creature that goes into a protective shell to protect itself from all of the emotional energies that are all around. And that's the energy of the Cancerian. And the moon phase right here, as you can see, is it's just past the full moon. It's still 96% full, on its way back down to fading out. And that is the weather. All we have left now here is our dream spell for today. And as you can see, we are a red colored day. The Lunar Skywalker is the name. Red Lunar Skywalker. Red is the color of initiation. Lunar tone is called the lunar tone of challenge. It's when the 2 energies balance themselves off. And the phrase for today, I polarized in order to explore stabilizing wakefulness. I seal the output of space with the lunar tone of challenge. I am guided by the power of life force, and today is a galactic activation portal day, which means the energy of the 2 columns and the rows are combined together to kind of give a little bit extra oomph with the energy of the day. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Monday, December 12th, 2011. Now, of course, the reason I do the astrology and the dream spell and all of these other things that I lump them in as the cosmic weather is because everything around us is all about energy. And the more that we're able to understand the energy, the more we're able to move through it. That is the purpose of why this is here. It's we're to learn from this. This isn't something that is a taboo science for us to not know about. We are supposed to know about what's going on around us. Now, the problem that people have with astrology is sometimes people give their power away to it. You're not supposed to give your power away. That's like giving your power away to the person who's doing the weather report or to the weather report itself. You just understand what the weather is and you move accordingly. That's all that it is. So when we look at these different tools and ways of understanding how the energy is moving, it's helping us to move through life a bit more efficiently, and that's what we want to do. Keep finding ways that we move through life more efficiently, and by knowing what the weather is and the energies are out there, it helps us to understand that a bit more. Now, moving right along, our first story for today is going to be about Ron Paul. Ron Paul had the debates this last couple days. It was the big debate hosted by ABC for the upcoming Iowa caucuses. And let's take a listen to what Ron Paul had to say. Here we go. I'll be back.
My approach is slightly different, where I think all for less taxes and less regulations. We recognize this. But I emphasize the fact that you have to know why we have a recession and why we have unemployment before you can solve the problem. And the financial bubbles are created by excessive credit and stimulation by the Federal Reserve. And then you have bubbles and you have to have a correction. This stimulus creates excessive debt and malinvestment. As long as you don't correct that and you maintain the debt and the malinvestment, you can't get back to economic growth again. Unfortunately, so far, what we have done is we have not liquidated the debt. We have dumped the debt on the American people through TARP funding and as well as the Federal Reserve. So the debt is dumped on the people. And what did we do? We bailed out the people that were benefiting during the formation of the bubble. So as long as we do that, we're not going to have economic growth. We did the same thing in the Depression. The Japanese are doing it right now. So it's time we liquidate the debt and look at monetary policy and then, of course, lower taxes. And I would like to do in the first year, cut $1 trillion because that is the culprit. Big spending and big government.
I want to move on, if I can, to another question which represents some of the urgent and tough choices presidents have to make, because this one is coming up soon, December 31st, and it is the payroll tax cut. And as we know, the payroll tax cut, which funds the Social Security fund in this country, is part of the argument, part of the debate, part of the consideration about the economy in this country right now. And by some estimates, if this tax cut expires on December 31st, it could add as much as $1,000 to the tax burden of American working families. And I know you are divided down the middle.
Congressman Paul, 30 seconds rebuttal to send it. Well, I want to extend the tax cut because if you don't, you raise the taxes, but I want to pay for it. And it's not that difficult. In my proposal, my budget, I want to cut hundreds of billions of dollars from overseas. The trust fund is gone, but how are we going to restore it? We have to quit the spending. We have to quit this being the policeman of the world. We don't need another war in Syria, another war in Iran. Just get rid of the embassy in Baghdad. We're pretending we're coming home from Baghdad. We built an embassy there that cost $1 billion, and we're putting 17,000 contractors in there and pretending our troops are coming home. I could save the money, and we don't have to raise taxes on Social Security, on the tax.
I want to bring Congressman Paul in on this because, Congressman, you've been running ads that are quite tough. Quite tough on Speaker Gingrich here in Iowa this week, accusing him of, quote, and this is a quote from your ad, serial hypocrisy. Why do you think Speaker Gingrich is a hypocrite?
Well, he's been on different positions, on so many issues, single payer. He's taken some positions that are not conservative. He supported the TARP funds. And the other thing that really should have annoyed a lot of people, he received a lot of money from Freddie Mac. Now, Freddie Mac is essentially a government organization. While he was earning a lot of money from Freddie Mac, I was fighting over a decade to try to explain to people where the housing bubble was coming from. So Freddie Mac gets bailed out by the taxpayers. So in a way, Newt, I think you probably got some of our taxpayers' money. They got money out, and they're still getting bailed out. But you're a spokesman for them, and you receive money for them. So I think this is something that people ought to know about. But there's been many positions, and you have admitted many of the positions where you have changed positions. But if you were looking for a consistent position, I think there's be a little bit of trouble anybody competing with me on consistency over a long period of time.
Well, first of all, as you say normally in your own speeches, the housing bubble came from the Federal Reserve inflating the money supply. Now, that's the core of the housing bubble. And I happen to be with you on auditing the Fed and frankly, on firing Bernanke. Second, I was never a spokesman for any agency. I never did any lobbying for any agency. I offered strategic advice. I was in the private sector, and I was doing things in the private sector. And when you're in the private sector and you have a company and you offer advice, like McKinsey does, like a bunch of other companies do, you're allowed to charge money for it.
What about it?
It's called free enterprise.
It's the taxpayers' money, though. We had to bail these people out.
Should voters consider marital fidelity when making their choices for president? Congressman Paul, what's your view on this?
I think character is obviously very important. I don't think it should be necessary to have to talk about it. I think it should show through in the way we live. And I think it should show through in your marriage. And I happen to have been married for 54 years and a family person. But I don't think we should have to talk about it. But you know what? Probably is every bit as important. If your marriage vows are important, what about our oath of office? That's what really gets to me. That's where you're really on the line as a public figure. That's where I think a lot of people come up real short, because there's many times that I've been forced to Congress because I take my oath very seriously. I end up sometimes, believe it or not, voting all by myself, thinking that why aren't they people paying attention? Why don't they read Article 1, Section 8? If we took that oath of office seriously in Washington, we'd get rid of 80% of the government. The budget would be balanced. We'd have sound money, and we would have prosperity, and we wouldn't be the policemen of the world. We wouldn't have a Federal Reserve System, and we wouldn't be invading the privacy of every single individual in this country with bills like the Patriot Act. We'd have a free society and a prosperous society.
Speaker Gingrich caused something of a stir overnight in the Middle East with comments he made in an interview with the Jewish channel in which he called the Palestinians an invented people. And I just wondered, Congressman Paul, if I can start with you. Do you agree with that characterization that the Palestinians are an invented people?
No, I don't agree with that. And that's just stirring up trouble. And I believe in a non-interventionist foreign policy. I don't think we should get in the middle of these squabbles, but to go out of our way to say that so-and-so is not a real people. Technically and historically, yes, under the Ottoman Empire, the Palestinians didn't have a state, but neither did Israel have a state then, too. But this is how we get involved in so many messes, and I think it just fails on the side of practicing a little bit of diplomacy, getting ourselves into trouble, mentioning things that are unnecessary. The people in those regions should be dealing with these problems. We shouldn't be dealing with these things, but historically, under the Ottoman Empire, that is technically correct. But to make these decisions and deciding what the settlement is going to be should be the people that are involved. This idea that we can be the policemen of the world and settle all these disputes, I mean, soon we'll have to quit because we're flat-out broke, but we cannot continue to get into these issues like this and getting ourselves into more trouble.
We have a question on Yahoo about the last time those of you had a personal financial strain that forced you to cut back on a necessity, as so many people in the middle class say they do. What were the consequences you faced, and will you weigh in on that? Congressman Paul, what does this question evoke? How much does it matter to have had personal experience?
Well, I feel very fortunate because although I was raised in a family that was rather poor, but I didn't even know it. It was during the Depression, World War II, and we didn't have very much, and I worked my way through college, and that was a natural instinct because that's what you were supposed to do. But I finally did a little bit better in medical school because I had my wife work our way through medical school. So that worked out a little bit better. But middle class is suffering, but not only because we bail out the rich and dump on the poor and they lose their jobs and they lose their houses, but there's a characteristic about monetary policy. When a country destroys its currency, it transfers wealth from the middle class to the wealthy. And this is what you're seeing today, the elimination of the middle class. And it's going to get a lot worse unless we address the subject overspending, overborrowing, and printing too much money and understanding the business cycle.
Senator Santorum. I can switch to this question, and it is about health care because a number of people, in fact, I was just at a pharmacy here. I do have a cough, but I was at a pharmacy here in Iowa, and the pharmacists were talking about a big driver of health care costs, and they specifically mentioned habits, unhealthy habits that we all need to learn to do better on at a young age. They talked about obesity, they talked about exercise. If I can ask you, Congressman Paul, anything government should do on these fronts?
On medical? Or
on these fronts specifically of healthy behavior at very young ages where it's
no, essentially not, but they have to be a referee if people are doing things that hurt other people, yes. But if you embark on instituting a society where government protects you from yourself, you're in big trouble, and that's what they're doing. I think what we've had here is a demonstration of why should we have a candidate that's going to have to explain themselves. 70% of the people want further explanations on what your positions are. So I think that is endless. But you talk about the Obamacare using force. But that's all government is force. I mean, do you have a choice about paying Medicare taxes? So there's not a whole lot of difference. You're forced to buy insurance. That's one step further. But you have to stop with force. Once government uses force to mold behavior or mold the economy, they've overstepped the bounds and they violated the whole concept of our revolution and our Constitution.
As a form of closing statement, we just want each of you, you're all running against each other, but in these last few minutes, if you stick to the minute, we will not run over the commercial. Tell us the one thing you've learned from someone else, one of your challengers on stage. Governor Perry.
I tell you, Congressman Paul got me really intrigued with the whole, the Federal Reserve. And I've spent a substantial amount of time reading about, and Currency Wars, the book by James Rickards. But Congressman Paul is the individual on the stage that got me most interested in a subject that I found to be quite interesting and at the root of a lot of the problems that we have, and I thank you for that. But the one thing that I found outside of these fine individuals on this stage is that the people of this country really want to get America back on track.
I always find the principle of leadership to be most interesting. And as I look at the people on the stage, each exhibits different qualities of leadership, and they've each exercised leadership in different ways. One of the things about Ron Paul that always amazes me is when I come to a debate like this, the only signs I see are the Ron Paul people out there in freezing temperatures are always there. He ignites an enthusiasm with the number of people that's very exciting to watch.
I have learned that you should never give up on your opposition, because if you're persistent and you present your case, they will come your way. So, Rick, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You're open to the Federal Reserve. That's wonderful. But I work from the assumption that freedom brings people together. And if you understand freedom, it's based on tolerance and nonviolence. So if it's tolerance, it should be bringing all kinds of people together, and that's following our Constitution. We shouldn't be fighting among ourselves, because we shouldn't be fighting in Washington. If we all take the same oath of office, where does the fight come from? Somebody is messing up somewhere. So I would say that with persistence, I think that we can all prevail and come up with the right answers.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, I am back, and I have several good stories for you today. Let's jump over to our first one. First one comes to us from the Examiner. TheExaminer.com. Roger Marsh. Diamond UFO over Texas had cloaking or camouflage. A Texas witness wishes he had thought to take a video after watching a huge diamond-shaped craft that was silent and bright, that flew low and appeared as though it had cloaking or some kind of camouflage, according to the December 10th, 2011 testimony from the Mutual UFO Witness Reporting Database. While the city was not named in the public portion of the MUFON report, the witness and a friend were driving along Anderson Mill Road, moving towards M620, and the object first came into view. They both searched for logical explanations at what they were looking at. Once we got to FM 620, ready to take the right east, we stopped because it was stationary and about 500 feet or so ahead of us, but at a distance where it was still having trouble figuring out what it was, the witness stated. I could see blue and red flashing lights, as well as a yellowish orange, as if something was burning or aflame. The witness noticed that when the light changed green, the other cars did not move. We were at a stoplight, and I looked around. Our stoplight was green. No one was moving, and it seemed that they were all focused on the strange object. I rolled down the windows, and my friend and I stuck our heads out the window to get a better look. I could not hear anything. It was complete silence, and I had a very eerie feeling. The object moved directly overhead. I was shocked and in awe, as if I was watching the movie Independence Day, when I saw a massive diamond-shaped craft appear to be about 7 to 10 planes wide. I can't really give a good estimate, but it seems bigger than anything I've ever seen fly. The object also seemed to have another odd component, looking as though you could see through it as well as being silent. What confused me the most was that the harder I tried to look at it, it seemed to be almost see-through, like having some cloaking or some kind of camouflage. But you could still see the shape and the size, but also the clouds and the stars behind it. Also, we had slowly turned right at the stoplight going east. The object moved very slowly over us and to the south at literally 10 to 30 miles an hour. It was moving very slow. The witness also telephoned a friend early on. During the sighting, the friend was able to see the object from a distance perspective, but further away. The witness is also wishing video had been taken during the event. Alright, this took place recently in Texas. Our next story comes to us here from Third Phase of the Moon. This is a UFO sighting near mid-air collision with a Coast Guard plane. So check this one out. This one's pretty interesting. You're going to see the object. Alright, you're going to see the other thing go by really fast. You see it right here, coming upon it. Goes right by the plane and continues on. Alright, let's see if we can get a better angle of it here, or a close-up shot. Okay, as you can see, there's the object right here. Here's the plane, and it comes close. Well, actually, it flies overhead, so it's, as you can see, so it's not like it was on a crash course or anything with this. Alright, so that was the most recent one. And then, of course, we have this footage. Comes to us from Broward County, Florida. Let's take a look what this one is here. Alright. Alright. Now we got the two objects out in the sky. Okay, there's another one down here. So they're seeing about 5 lights, trying to figure out where they're coming from. And okay, and you can see them right over here. Now, they've seen a number of these things out in that area. Okay. So very good. So I'm going to leave this for you to check it out yourself. The whole video is 3 minutes 26 seconds, and you can hear the videographer commenting on what they're seeing as they're seeing it. Our next story comes to us out of New York. Now, this was from a webcam that was up there, and let me go ahead and play this, and you're going to see Okay, right here. You see they're pointing out where the lights were up in the sky. Very much like the lights that were just shown in Florida. Okay. Let's zip ahead here. You can see it's time stamped. The person is pointing it out when this came about. And that's pretty much what you get. You get like a still image of what was seen there. Alright, so the video is available for you to check it out, but this was over in New York City just over the weekend. And our last story comes to us from UFOdigest.com, Strange Skies of Earthquakes, submitted by Christian Mace. This is the UFOs Digest European correspondent. And so I reported on my big file on the strange phenomena of earthquakes and explosions sky. And I recall the study of the functioning of the flying saucer in the early 50s, the French Air Force Lieutenant Jean Planter. He had a strange explosion in New York. My discovery, the phenomena of strange explosions or earthquakes in the sky and the world, is often near coastal areas. The strange phenomena is often near coastal zones. We will open this amazing record of detonation phenomena, wigs, and other developments around the globe. Be careful. You too can bear witness. These manifestations are nothing strange today. Summary of the note of the usual noise heard on the 16th. Mr. Clement Mullet, resident member of Archaeological Society of the Dawn, gathered in the second part of the volume. So what we have here is a series of stories that people had when they were experiencing these sky explosions and relating them to various different objects and what they might be. I just thought in light of all of the UFO stuff we talk about, this might be interesting to explore. So all of these stories are available on our page, right hand side, UFO News. We have all the news stories. It goes back for months. You can check out all the UFO stories we've been playing. And that's our UFO News. I'm going to jump away to our song, Wake Up. When I get back, we're going to continue on with more news and information. Stay tuned. What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okay, welcome back. I was Wake Up. I've played that enough times that by now you should be able to be singing along with it. You probably are. I get a lot of comments from listeners about that song, and a lot of them tell me how it kind of sticks in their head, and they walk through life and walk through their days singing "Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up," and that's good. We all need to be woken up, and so that's the idea. The song's available as a free download. Just follow the link from the webpage, download it, play it over and over and over. That's what it's for. All right, now continuing on with Ron Paul, you heard his responses. But I bet you didn't know how he polled after the debates. Well, if you were to go online, and you can do this right now, just go to Google, go to the internet, search for the polling results following that debate, and you will find a number of results just like this. Ron Paul wins online polling. And it says here, ABC hosted the most recent debate between 6 of the GOP president hopefuls. As was to be expected, debate moderators Diane Sawyer and George Stephanopoulos tried to position the debate as between frontrunner Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich. Conspicuously missing from the media's biased attention, of course, was none other than Ron Paul, the candidate with the most thriving campaign in Iowa, whose poll numbers place him just behind Gingrich in a tie with Romney and perceptually increasing numbers, while polling included independents and disenchanted Democrats who are switching to the Republican Party. Ron Paul became the clear leader in Iowa, and yet the media continues so obviously to avoid even mentioning his name at all if possible. All right, and you can go down and you could see some of the polls that they have here. You've got this poll. This is a Yahoo News poll. The sad thing about this poll is they don't even list Ron Paul in there. They give you two choices, Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich. That is it. Now, if you go and look at the polls and you just really look at the ones that are out there, where they are all mentioned, you're going to see Ron Paul has an overwhelming advantage. I mean, 70-80% in some of these polls. Some of these polls are out there. So I'm going to encourage you to go out and do some research. You know, check for yourself to see how he is polling. I guarantee you're going to see a different result online than what they're saying on the mainstream media. I mean, you got the mainstream media with journalists who aren't honest. If you can tell me that Bill O'Reilly is an honest journalist, you haven't read about Bill O'Reilly and you really don't understand. And just knowing how dishonest he is, he's not going to talk about anything honest. That's not what he does. And that goes with all of the mainstream. They don't talk about honest things because they are not honest people. If they were, they wouldn't be on the networks lying to viewers, showing them video clips of places that were Greece and then telling them it was Russia and all the other lies. So I'm not in favor of the mainstream and the lies. I believe journalism should be something that is honored and that the truth should be put out there. There's a lot of really great journalists in this country. Now, I know recently that there was some sort of, they were talking about journalists, and the only journalists that really are real journalists are those connected with the mainstream media, and if you're not, then you're not a real journalist. Well, that's just their way of trying to get you to only listen to the ones that are lying. Truth is important, my friends. Being convinced that the liars are the honest ones, that's not very truthful. And all you have to do is listen to what the differences between what is being said, and you'll understand. Now, remember that bill, the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act? Well, apparently, and then as I talked about, there was a section in the bill. It was the indefinite detention section, and it was wondering where this came from. Well, apparently, it has been discovered. Senator Levine revealed it was Obama who required the indefinite detainment bill included U.S. citizens as part of the wording. Well, now we know, for those who have been holding out hope that Obama will veto the 1031 indefinite detention bill against holding U.S. citizens without rights to a trial or lawyer or charges for the rest of their lives, it was Obama Or shall I say Osama, who required the bill to have the language of the U.S. citizens being held without rights to the bill? The only reason he would veto it is because it does not give him the absolute power he wants. So again, in regards to Obama, here we have a president who has put a lot of money out to see to it that his past records aren't looked at. We have a president who wasn't born in this country and has been paying all of this money so that you don't find that out. He wasn't born in this country. He doesn't have the ideals of American citizens, and therefore it's easy for him to do things to destroy the country. He's been lying all along the way, from the time when he took office until now. He just lies, says he's going to do something, he doesn't do it because he doesn't have the power to do it. He's just a puppet. He is the example of how much the New World Order is in place, and they don't even care that people know. So they put someone in office that is not going to fulfill any of the things that they say, and is just going to make it so transparent that you can see right through him. And when you see through him, you see the puppet masters. And you realize that Obama is just being pushed around because he has no will or spine of his own. Then on top of that, you've got the one from the Bible, Luke chapter 10 verse 18, the one translation which has Jesus' words of Barack Obama, of the Antichrist, translated into Satan Barack Obama. I played that before. Is Obama the Antichrist? Did Jesus reveal the name of the Antichrist? Well, there's a lot of folks that say no, that's a wrong interpretation and wrong translation. But what if it isn't? One thing after another points to the man in office is not who he appears to be. From his birth certificate, to his not being an American citizen, to his social security number, to the things he said he was going to do, and now possibility that his name is the same as the name that Jesus claims as an Antichrist. And then we hear about the indefinite detention bill. What is it going to take, folks, for you to realize the man is not out to help anyone in this country? The man is out for himself. He's out to ruin the country. And the longer that people keep believing in what he's about, the only hope he's going to give you is the hope that you're not ever going to be able to get out of an indefinite detention situation, because he is the guy who wants you to be indefinitely detained if you don't agree with what he says. Let's listen to what Senator Levine has to say about this situation.
I'm wondering whether the senator is familiar with the fact that the language which precluded the application of Section 1031 to American citizens was in the bill that we originally approved in the Armed Services Committee, and the administration asked us to remove the language which says that U.S. citizens and lawful residents would not be subject to this section. Is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration that asked us to remove the very language which we had in the bill which passed the committee, and that we removed it at the request of the administration, that would have said that this determination would not apply to U.S. citizens and lawful residents? I'm just wondering, is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration which asked us to remove the very language, the absence of which is now objected to by the senator from Illinois?
I'm familiar now because the senator from Michigan has shared that fact with me.
All right, now what's going on there is very real, folks. The man in office does not care about your rights. There is a bill, indefinite detention. If you don't agree with what the administrators say of this country, you can be indefinitely detained. The man in office, Obama is a traitor to the United States Constitution. He should be in jail for treason to this country, along with a number of other political leaders that are out there. But instead, he is running free, and you've got people still supporting what he is about. We've got the National Defense Authorization Act, which is in place now, declaring the United States as a battleground. We've got an indefinite detention bill that the president was thought to going to veto until it was found out that he was the one who wants it in there. You've got troops coming home. You've got occupiers in the streets. This is all a recipe for something quite insane, folks, that might be happening. Reports are out there that FEMA camps are being activated in this country. There's something very seriously wrong that people need to pay attention to, because all the pieces are in place for something really bizarre to happen. I'm not the only one talking about this. I think you should be concerned about this, because I know I'm concerned about it. And when I hear that others don't understand these things going on, it concerns me. It concerns me how the truth is being twisted and manipulated by those in power. So folks, please pay attention. Now, over at InfoWars, I see that Alex Jones has posted up there, Follow the Republic, and you can watch it online for free. Well, I'm a big supporter of what InfoWars is doing and the work that they have been doing for so many years. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play part 1 of the Follow the Republic, and then I'm going to encourage you to go to InfoWars to check out the whole rest of the movie, because it's definitely important that you understand what's going on. Obama is not our friend. He has never been our friend. Obama's been lying, and this video points him as well as many others out as the liars that they are. Watch this. I will be back.
Central bank floated the idea of dumping the greenback as the world's reserve currency, replacing it with an international currency.
Thousands of people gathered to hear Barack Obama deliver key foreign policy speech on his current European tour. His vision for America's place in a new world order.
Returning vets could be a risk to our nation.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
And one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance.
I think a new world order is emerging.
This is a hoax and a scam which is designed to transfer wealth and power from the private sector to the government sector, and from the government of the United States to a world government.
And those people who have been yelling, oh, the UN's going to take over global
conspiracy theorists.
They've been crazy, but now they're right.
And who got the money?
Hundreds and hundreds of banks. Any bank or that has access to the U.S. Federal Reserve's discount.
Tell us who they are.
No.
You know, financial terrorism. They have the ability to tweak the knob.
I am proposing that the Federal Reserve be granted new authority.
The ultimate goal of the carbon tax and the cap and trade is to destroy production.
This energy tax is the largest tax increase in American history.
We're actually creating a global warming police. So number one, they can come in, the federal government can come in and inspect your house and send you the bill. We're setting up a global warming Gestapo.
One of the things that if you talk to our generals, they are desperate for is a civilian counterpart to our military forces.
I am fierce.
And this is what I wear.
Senator Barack Obama's presidential campaign is asking Missouri law enforcement to target anyone who lies or runs a misleading television ad.
I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go.
The president, when he was in Europe last week, he met with the king of Saudi Arabia. He appeared to bow.
President Obama today proposed something new, something called prolonged detention. Pre-crime is where people are arrested and incarcerated to prevent crimes that they have not yet committed.
It's the World Wrestling Federation. It's the Washington Wrestling Federation. They put on this show that they're bitter rivalries, villains, and they really don't like each other. But behind closed doors, they buddy up for a drink and make deals.
Both the Republican and Democratic parties are owned by the same global elites. And on issues that matter to those global elites, they act as one.
They've wrapped themselves in the American flag, and they've talked about preserving American heritage and principles, and all the while they're working to merge us into a new world order where our sovereignty will be destroyed. We'll lose all connection with our American heritage.
With Bush, you knew exactly what you were getting. It was there was no iron fist in a velvet glove. It was just the iron fist. Whereas with Obama, you've got the velvet glove and the iron fist. A very sharp guy, very smooth, knows exactly what he's doing. For that reason, far more dangerous than Bush.
Well, at the end of last year, I was willing to give Obama the benefit of the doubt. I thought it was premature to write this guy off. But now that he's been in office for a while, it's obvious that he is very tight with the Goldman Sachs and JP Morgans on Wall Street, and he is extremely compliant and pliant to the wishes of the large banks, going back to what we saw with Robert Rubin under the Clinton administration, changing laws in favor of the banks, and he's not doing anything to stop the banks. He's helping the banks continue to do what they were doing under Bush. So, in fact, he's just a continuation of Bush on the subject of markets and finance, which is the most important part of his policy right now.
People who voted for Obama wanted real change, and are getting platitudes, are getting a lot of nice talk, but nothing in the way of concrete change is taking place. In this town, business as usual.
There's one puppet master that controls the left, and there's the same puppet master controls the right. They control the Republican Party, and they control the Democratic Party.
This is not a party issue. This is not a left-right issue. The question is, who should government serve? And it should serve the people.
In fact, government is just a tool of the dominant minority that uses economics and government law to enforce upon the public various mandates.
The right-left paradigm in the U.S. and in U.S. politics is taken directly from the commercial world and the corporate world. In the business world, you have Coke, Pepsi. You have McDonald's, Burger King. You've got AT&T and Verizon. You've got duopolies. And a duopoly gives the illusion of there being some competition and some choice. And it looks a little bit better than a monopoly. So, for example, in communist Russia, if they had communist Russia red and communist Russia chartreuse, there would have been the illusion of choice and something akin to democracy in Russia. But they simply said, forget it, we're just going to go with red. In the U.S., they have this left-right paradigm, which, unfortunately, it doesn't take them out of the hard, cold fact that there is no choice. There's no social justice. There's only one choice, which is to supply more rent to the rent seekers who have now taken the whole system hostage.
We've seen the limitations on government whittled away. We have seen this erosion to the point where today it seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the republic.
If the United States doesn't have its Bill of Rights and Constitution, it doesn't exist anymore. It's just more real estate, more dirt. And that's what these global corporatists want. They want to completely dismantle the Bill of Rights and Constitution, and they're doing that right now. This is the fall of the republic. Our nation is dying. We, the people that live in this fine country, need to stand up, get involved, and take the system back. It's the Bill of Rights and Constitution that we owe allegiance to, not to a political party, and not to politicians that wrap themselves in the red, white, and blue, while at the same time they destroy everything that that sacred flag stands for.
So in the old days, you used to have this globe with 180 some odd countries, and a few of those countries had a lot of power, like the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States at various times. But today, you might better look at that globe
and say that it's surrounded by huge clouds swirling around the planet. They know no national boundaries. They don't follow any specific sets of laws, and these are the big corporations. They basically control politicians around the world because they have all the money, and politicians always need money to get elected or to run their governments if they're not democratically elected politicians. They control the mainstream press, either through outright ownership or advertising budgets. They have massive amounts of lobbyists in Washington that have tremendous influence on our president and Congress. And they really are calling the shots. They form partnerships with the Chinese and the Taiwanese and the Tibetans, or with the Israelis and Arab nations, with Brazilians and Indians, with whatever country and whatever group of people has resources that they covet. And so for the first time in history, we really have this new form of an empire.
Barack Obama is a puppet of the New World Order to bring in a World Bank, to destroy the economy of this country, and to bring in global governance. And no matter how likable the fellow is, we as citizens of this country need to stand up and say no.
We have to stand up to preserve a republic here and a rule of law, which is under dire threat.
We don't want to live under a world government of the corporations, by the corporations, and for the corporations.
I don't want to believe it, and that's probably what holds me back on it, but I'm certainly seeing enough indication that it could be true. Absolutely, because they're always talking about Mexico and the United States and Canada ending up like Europe. And there's things done politically that seem to take us in that direction. And so I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
This move to world government is not about roses and happiness and peace and in a better life. It's about enslavement.
They said in their own writings, from the earliest times to the present, the world they're bringing in is to be a world where everyone who is born, or would be allowed to be born to serve the state. That would be their sole function. That's if they had a job for you to fulfill or a need for you.
July 4th, 2009. Across the United States, citizens gathered to celebrate the Republic's founding 233 years before. Most people in the crowds were aware that America was going in the wrong direction, that things were changing for the worse. But few could grasp the sheer magnitude of corruption and looting running rampant like a disease through the heart of the nation.
All right, that is part one. I'm going to leave the link up there. It's at our page, firstcontactradio.com, right-hand side, daily news. You can follow the link to InfoWars or just go straight to InfoWars. Watch the entire movie. You know, I know a lot of folks voted for Obama because they were all excited when he talked about all of this change. And I know that there was a lot of African Americans that voted for Obama just simply because there was a black man running for office, so a lot of black Americans voted for him just simply based on the color of his skin. I hope you understand that his evilness goes beyond the boundaries of colors of skin. It never had anything to do with about a color of a skin. And anytime somebody has ever spoken up against Obama, they're called racist. And that's wrong in itself, because this country is not filled with racists. The racism is coming from the media, who keeps putting the word racism out there. The racism is coming from the administration, who is using those terms. But I go through life every single day, as I know you do, and you see people of all different colors and nationalities getting along with each other every single day. We're not dealing with racist problems when we go to workplaces or sports events or in life. We are dealing with people dealing with people. But when you get to the mainstream media and you got the administration, they want to bring these issues in because they want to keep dividing. Divide and conquer. That is a term that has been used for a long time, and the government is trying to divide you from your own common sense. And if they do that, then people start acting crazy. So the fact that Obama's in office and we want him out and we don't agree with him is not a racist issue. It's an issue of good versus evil. he is doing evil things and wants to do more evil things. Now, maybe outright, it's hard to say, well, that's kind of harsh to say the things he is doing is evil. But at the very heart of everything that's going on, it's not right. They want to imprison Americans. He has indefinite detention bills. He wants to enslave this country and have the banks continue to grow more and more in power. That is not right. That's going to hurt a lot of Americans. It's already hurting a lot of Americans. This needs to be stopped. Now, here's our last story before we get into our closing for today. This comes to us from naturalnews.com. Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Update. News Channel 5 confirms door-to-door questioning of food supplies in Tennessee while canneries downplay initial reports. Citizens in Tennessee are being asked by government workers to divulge details about their preparedness plans in a door-to-door assessment program, reported by Janet Kim from local news Channel 5. During the assessment, government workers asked residents 22 questions about preparedness status. Natural News has confirmed through reliable sources that these include questions about emergency food supplies. Fortunately, this effort is being done by a Tennessee group of state employees who are widely recognized throughout the preparedness community as being good guys, who are truly trying to help people get prepared. They are not interested in confiscation or anything of that kind, according to our sources. It's a local community preparedness support effort. On another front, 3 days ago, however, Oath Keepers reported that their chapter president in Tennessee was told by local cannery federal agents were demanding customer lists. This account went viral across the alternative news websites, and other news exploded across the net. The Tennessee cannery that originally relayed the account to Oath Keepers has backed off of their account and is now telling customers who call that federal agents never visited their cannery. Oath Keepers had posted an update confirming this. So what's going on is you've been hearing all of the reports of the military being coming back to this country, the National Defense Authorization Act put in place, the ability to indefinitely detain American citizens is being put in place. A lot of really gruesome things are going on, and then on top of that, now you've got federal agents who are going to canneries and they're finding out who has supplies, who is storing up for big supplies. They want to know the lists. Now, what happened, the first part, as I said, was a local community organization that was going on. It's a good thing to make sure people are prepared for emergencies. It's not a good thing if the agencies, government agencies, are wanting to get lists of private individuals that they shouldn't be able to get. And it's not good that they question how much a person has or why are they collecting it. Doesn't matter. If a person wants to have emergency supplies, they're entitled to do so. Again, it's another instance of the government overstepping its bounds, and they're doing this more and more, and the only way it's going to stop is if Americans step up and say something about it. Now, I have a feeling that because we're seeing all of this military returning to the country, all of these bills being put in place, I'm guessing that in the very near future something is going to go on in this country which is going to shake the very foundation of what Americans believe. Because they're going to have to deal with, I believe in a short period of time, you're going to have to deal with the fact that your United States military is going to be potentially turning guns on its own American citizens. Sad but true, it seems that we're moving in that direction. So if you have any relatives or friends that are in the military and you have the opportunity to talk to them, remind them that they swore an oath to protect and defend this country and the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Right now the enemies are in the administration. We can see by the laws and the things that they're doing every day, they are not trying to help America. They are actually trying to hurt America. Got to stand up, folks. So pay attention to these things, because don't let the holidays distract you. Just because there's a holiday season doesn't mean that they're going to stop doing their plans. Sometimes during the holiday times, when people have their attention focused elsewhere, those seem to be the times that the administrations really ramp up their efforts to try to screw people even more, because people aren't looking, and so it's easier for them to try to do that. Pay attention. That's all I can tell you. Pay attention, because if something happens and you don't know, all I could say, it's your own fault for not paying attention. And I tell all my friends and my family the same thing. Pay attention, because something's going on out there that really is asking for you to pay attention. That's all I can say about that. All right. Now, that brings us to the end. Let's close things off with a prayer meditation. Put some positive vibes out into the world to counteract all the negativity. So close your eyes and relax. Let's imagine that we're walking along a path, and we see others also on the path, but they're walking the opposite direction. And as you're walking along and you're seeing others walking in the opposite direction, you realize that with everybody going in different directions, it's hard to really get together to be effective, because we're confused, we're out of joint, we're not going in the same way. And so we realize, first and foremost, that we're all beings upon this planet. And second of all, that we're all created from the same creator. And finally, that we have the opportunity to connect as beings upon this planet to create good. And as we realize this, we start to turn away from all of the paths that we are walking that are taking us in the wrong ways, and we all start walking together. And we all walk together because we realize that we all want good. And as we realize around the planet that we all want the same good to happen, all of the darkness becomes revealed, and we have an opportunity to get rid of it. All of the liars are exposed, and we have an opportunity to get rid of them. All of those that are murderers and killers and thieves, they become exposed. And we realize that there are millions and millions of more beings upon this planet that want good than the very small amount that want bad. For that is the nature of God. Goodness, happiness, peace, love. Let us pray that all of our eyes are opened, that we see through the illusions, and we find the truths. Let us pray that we all stay safe, and that we find the strength within ourselves to rise above the challenges, so that we can make this world a better place, the way that Great Spirit has created for all of us. Let's imagine all of our energy centers are open, the chakras along the spine, starting with the bottom, the root chakra, the color is red. Just imagine the color red, and then imagine that energy raising up to the belly button area, and imagine the color orange. Raise the energy up a little bit higher, just below the rib cage, and imagine the color yellow. And then raise the energy up to the heart, imagine the color green. And raise the energy up to the throat, imagine the color blue. Up to the third eye, right between the two eyebrows, imagine the color violet. And finally to the top of your head, imagine the color indigo, and see the light continuing on up into the cosmos. You're connected above and below. We are all connected to the energies of the earth, the sky, the cosmos. And let's just send love all around the planet now. To every individual, to your friends, to your enemies, it doesn't matter. Just send out love. Send love down into the planet Earth and send it up into the cosmos. So all who look down upon this planet from elsewhere see that this is a planet of love. filled with loving beings that want goodness to prevail. All right, let's just imagine now good things happening for everybody in the world today. And with that, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment, and we'll do so on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it, my friends. Another show, another prayer meditation. Thanks for being here today. It's always a pleasure. Just keep paying attention out there. Keep thinking good. There's millions of good people in the world, and only a very small amount that are wanting to cause problems. We can get rid of the problem makers just by focusing on the good. Just by focusing on the good. Remember, folks, we're all in this together. We're all going to make it through. We just have to remember we're all connected, and that's the most important part. Thanks for being here. I'll be back again tomorrow with more news information. Till then, be safe. Peace. I'm out of here.